The history of chess can be traced back nearly 1,500 years, although the earliest origins are uncertain. The earliest predecessor of the game probably originated in India. Before the 6th century AD, a minority of historians believe the game originated in China. From India, the game spread to Persia. When the Arabs conquered Persia, chess was taken up by the Muslim world and subsequently spread to southern Europe. In Europe, chess evolved into roughly its current form in the 15th century. The Romantic era of chess was the predominant chess-playing style down to the 1880s. It was characterized by swashbuckling attacks, clever combinations, brash piece sacrifices, and dynamic games. Winning was secondary to winning with style. These games were focused more on artistic expression, rather than technical mastery or long-term planning. The Romantic era of play was followed by the scientific, hypermodern, and new dynamism eras. In the second half of the 19th century, modern chess tournament play began, and the first World Chess Championship was held in 1886. The 20th century saw great leaps forward in chess theory and the establishment of the World Chess Federation. Developments in the 21st century include use of computers for analysis, which originated in the 1970s with the first program chess games on the market. Online gaming appeared in the mid-1990s. Chess remains a highly popular pastime among the general populace. A 2012 survey found that chess players now make up one of the largest communities in the world. 605 million adults play chess regularly. Chess is played at least once a year by 12% British people, 15% Americans, 23% Germans, 43% Russians, and 70% Indian people. Origin. Precursors to chess originated in India during the Gupta Empire. Its early form in the 6th century was known as Chaturanga, which translates as 4 divisions: infantry, cavalry, elephantry, and chariotry. These forms are represented by the pieces that would evolve into the modern pawn, knight, bishop, and rook, respectively. According to chess historians Gerhard Jossen and Isaac Linder, the early beginnings of chess can be traced back to the Kushan Empire in ancient Afghanistan, circa 50 BCE to 200 CE. Chess was introduced to Persia from India and became a part of the princely or courtly education of Persian nobility. In Sassanid Persia around 600 the name became Chaturanga, which subsequently evolved to Shatranj due to Arab Muslims' lack of ch and eng native sounds, and the rules were developed further. Players started calling Shah when attacking the opponent's king, and Shah mat when the king was attacked and could not escape from attack. These exclamations persisted in chess as it traveled to other lands. The game was taken up by the Muslim world after the Islamic conquest of Persia, with the pieces largely keeping the Persian names. The Moors of North Africa rendered Persian Shatranj as Shatare, which gave rise to the Spanish Asadrex, Axadrez and Ajedrez. In Portuguese it became Zadrez, and in Greek Zatrikion. But in the rest of Europe it was replaced by versions of the Persian Shah. Thus, the game came to be called Ludus Skak or Muscaci in Latin, Scacchi in Italian, Escacs in Catalan, EQCHECs in French, Schaken in Dutch, Schach in German, Sochi in Polish, SAHs in Latvian, Skak in Danish, Jak in Norwegian, Shak in Swedish, Saki in Finnish, SAH in South Slavic languages, Sak in Hungarian, and SAH in Romanian. There are two theories about why this change happened. For the exclamation check or checkmate, as it was pronounced in various languages, for the first chessmen known of in Western Europe being ornamental chess kings brought in as curios by Muslim traders. The Mongols called the game shatter, and in Ethiopia it is called center, both evidently derived from shatranj. Chess spread directly from the Middle East to Russia, where chess became known as. The game reached Western Europe and Russia by at least 3 routes, the earliest being in the 9th century. By the year 1000 it had spread throughout Europe. Introduced into the Iberian Peninsula by the Moors in the 10th century, it was described in a famous 13th century manuscript covering shatranj, backgammon and dice named the Libro de los Juegos. Chess spread throughout the world and many variants of the game soon began taking shape. Buddhist pilgrims, Silk Road traders and others carried it to the Far East, where it was transformed and assimilated into a game often played on the intersection of the lines of the board rather than within the squares. Chaturanga reached Europe through Persia, the Byzantine Empire and the expanding Arabian Empire. Muslims carried chess to North Africa, Sicily, and Iberia by the 10th century. The game was developed extensively in Europe. By the late 15th century, it had survived a series of prohibitions and Christian church sanctions to almost take the shape of the modern game. Modern history saw reliable reference works, competitive chess tournaments, and exciting new variants. These factors added to the game's popularity, further bolstered by reliable timing mechanisms, effective rules, and charismatic players. India. The earliest precursor of modern chess is a game called Chaturanga, which flourished in India by the 6th century, and is the earliest known game to have 2 essential features found in all later chess variations, different pieces having different powers, and victory depending on the fate of one piece, the king of modern chess. The original chessboard was mathematically revolutionary, as reported by the infamous Wheaton chessboard problem. A common theory is that India's development of the board and chess was likely due to India's mathematical enlightenment involving the creation of the number 0. Other game pieces uncovered in archaeological findings are considered as coming from other, distantly related board games, which may have had boards of 100 squares or more. Findings in the Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa sites of the Indus Valley civilization show the prevalence of a board game that resembles chess. Chess was designed for an ashtapada, which may have been used earlier for a backgammon-type race game. Ashtapada, the uncheckered 8x8 board, served as the main board for playing Chaturanga. Other Indian boards included the 10x10 Dasapada and the 9x9 Chaturanga. Traditional Indian chessboards often have X markings on some or all of squares A1, A4, A5, A8, D1, D4, D5, D8, E1, D4, E5, E8, H1, H4, H5, H8. These may have been safe squares, where capturing was not allowed in a dice-driven backgammon-type race game played on the ashtapada before chess was invented. The Cox-Forbes theory, proposed in the late 18th century by Hiram Cox, and later developed by Duncan Forbes, asserted that the four-handed game Chaturanga was the original form of Chaturanga. The theory is no longer considered tenable. In Sanskrit, Chaturanga literally means having 4 limbs, and in epic poetry often means army. The name came from a battle formation mentioned in the Indian epic Mahabharata. The game Chaturanga was a battle simulation game which rendered Indian military strategy of the time. Some people formerly played chess using a die to decide which piece to move. There was an unproven theory that chess started as this dice chess and that the gambling and dice aspects of the game were removed because of Hindu religious objections. Scholars in areas to which the game subsequently spread, for example the Arab Abu al-Hasan Ali al-Masudi, detailed the Indian use of chess as a tool for military strategy. mathematics, gambling and even its vague association with astronomy. Masudi notes that ivory in India was chiefly used for the production of chess and backgammon pieces, and asserts that the game was introduced to Persia from India, along with the book Virginia-Demna, during the reign of Emperor Nishirwan. In some variants, a win was by checkmate, or by stalemate, or by bear king. In some parts of India, the pieces in the places of the rook, knight and bishop were renamed by words meaning boat, horse, and elephant, or elephant, horse, and camel, but keeping the same moves. In early chess, the moves of the pieces were. Two Arab travelers each recorded a severe Indian chess rule against stalemate. A stalemated player thereby at once wins. A stalemated king can take one of the enemy pieces that would check the king if the king moves. Iran. The Khanate Ayad Shir-i Khan, a Pahlavi epical treatise about the founder of the Sassanid Persian Empire, mentions the game of Chaturanga as one of the accomplishments of the legendary hero Ardashir, the first founder of the empire. The oldest recorded game in chess history is a 10th-century game played between a historian from Baghdad and a pupil. A manuscript explaining the rules of the game called Matikan-i Chaturanga in Middle Persian of Pahlavi still exists. In the 11th century, Shahnameh Ferdowsi describes a Raja visiting from India who reenacts the past battles on the chessboard. A translation in English based on the manuscripts in the British Museum is given below. One day an ambassador from the King of Hind arrived at the Persian court of Chosroes, and after an oriental exchange of courtesies, the ambassador produced rich presents from his sovereign, and amongst them was an elaborate board with curiously carved pieces of ebony and ivory. He then issued a challenge: "O great king, fetch your wise men and let them solve the mysteries of this game. If they succeed, my master the King of Hind will pay tribute as an overlord. But if they fail, it will be proof that the Persians are of lower intellect, and we shall demand tribute from Iran." The courtiers were shown the board, and after a day and a night in deep thought, one of them, Bozorgmer, solved the mystery and was richly rewarded by his delighted sovereign. The Shahnameh goes on to offer an apocryphal account of the origins of the game of chess in the story of Talhand and Gav, two half-brothers who vie from the throne of Hind. They meet in battle and Talhand dies on his elephant without a wound. Believing that Gav had killed Talhand, the mother is distraught. Gav tells his mother that Talhand did not die by the hands of him or his men, but she does not understand how this could be. So the sages of the court invent the game of chess, detailing the pieces and how they move, to show the mother of the princes how the battle unfolded and how Talhand died of fatigue when surrounded by his enemies. The poem uses the Persian term shamat to describe the fate of Talhand. The philosopher and theologist Al-Ghazali mentions chess in The Alchemy of Happiness. He uses it as a specific example of a habit that may cloud a person's good disposition. Indeed, a person who has become habituated to gaming with pigeons, playing chess, or gambling, so that it becomes second nature to him, will give all the comforts of the world and all that he has for those and cannot keep away from them. The appearance of the chess pieces had altered greatly since the times of Chaturanga, with ornate pieces and chess pieces depicting animals giving way to abstract shapes. This is because of a Muslim ban on the game's lifelike pieces, as they were said to have brought upon images of idolatry. The Islamic sects of later centuries followed a pattern which assigned names and abstract shapes to the chess pieces. As Islam forbids depiction of animals and human beings in art, these pieces were usually made of simple clay and carved stone. East Asia. China. As a strategy board game played in China, chess is believed to have been derived from the Indian Chaturanga. Chaturanga was transformed into the game Zhangqi, where the pieces are placed on the intersection of the lines of the board rather than within the squares. The object of the Chinese variation is similar to Chaturanga, i.e., to render helpless the opponent's king, known as general on one side and governor on the other. Chinese chess also borrows elements from the game of Go, which was played in China since at least the 6th century BC. Owing to the influence of Go, Chinese chess is played on the intersections of the lines on the board, rather than in the squares. The game of Xiangqi is also unique in that the middle rank represents a river, and is not divided into squares. Chinese chess pieces are usually flat and resemble those used in checkers, with pieces differentiated by writing their names on the flat surface. An alternative origin theory contends that chess arose from Xiangqi, or a predecessor thereof, existing in China since the 3rd century BC. David H. Lee, a retired accountant, professor of accounting and translator of ancient Chinese texts, hypothesizes that General Han Xin drew on the earlier game of Liubo to develop an early form of Chinese chess in the winter of 204–203 BC. The German chess historian Peter Banaszak, however, points out that Lee's main hypothesis is based on virtually nothing. Quote, he notes that the Shanguailu, authored by the Tang dynasty minister Niu Sengru, remains the first real source on the Chinese chess variant Xiangqi. Japan. A prominent variant of chess in East Asia is the game of shogi, transmitted from India to China and Korea before finally reaching Japan. The three distinguishing features of shogi are: the captured pieces may be reused by the captor and played as a part of the captor's forces. Pawns capture as they move, one square straight ahead. The board is 9×9, with a second golden general on the other side of the king. Mongolia. Chess is recorded from Mongolian inhabited areas, where the pieces are now called king, no yon lord, queen, boars, no oik dog, bishop, team camel, knight, mori horse, rook, tereg cart, pawn, huboy. Names recorded from the 1880s by Russian sources, quoted in Murray, among the Soyo people include Murtse, Taba, Ol and Mongolian names for the other pieces. The change with the queen is likely due to the Arabic word farzan, a Persian word farzan, being confused with Turkic, a Mongolian native words. Chess in Mongolia is now played following standard rules. East Siberia. Chess was also recorded from the Yakuts, Tungusas, and Ukayas, but only as a children's game among the Chukchi. Chessmen have been collected from the Yakuta people in Alaska, having no resemblance to European chessmen, and thus likely part of a chess tradition coming from Siberia. Arab world. Chess passed from Persia to the Arab world, where its name changed to Arabic Shatranj. For there it passed to Western Europe, probably via Spain. Over the centuries, features of European chess found the way via trade into Islamic areas. Murray's sources found the old moves of queen and bishop still current in Ethiopia. The game became so popular it was used in writing at that time, played by nobility and regular people. The poet Al-Khatib once said, "The skilled player places his pieces in such a way as to discover consequences that the ignorant man never sees." Thus, he serves the Sultan's interests by showing how to foresee disaster. Europe. Early history. Shatranj made its way via the expanding Islamic Arabian Empire to Europe. It also spread to the Byzantine Empire, where it was called Zatrikion. Chess appeared in southern Europe during the end of the first millennium, are often introduced to new lands by conquering armies, such as the Norman conquest of England. Chess remained largely unpopular in northern Europe but started gaining popularity as soon as figure pieces were introduced. In the 14th century, De Moor played an enlarged variation of the game which is commonly referred to as Tamerlan Chess. This complex game involved each pawn having a particular purpose, as well as additional pieces. The sides are conventionally called white and black, but, in earlier European chess writings, the sides were often called red and black because those were the commonly available colors of ink when handwriting drawing a chess game layout. In such layouts, each piece was represented by its name, often abbreviated. The social value attached to the game, seen as a prestigious pastime associated with nobility and high culture, is clear from the expensive and exquisitely made chessboards of the medieval era. The popularity of chess in the Western courtly society peaked between the 12th and the 15th centuries. The game found mention in the vernacular and Latin language literature throughout Europe, and many works were written on or about chess between the 12th and the 15th centuries. H.J.R. Murray divides the works into three distinct parts: the Didactic Works, e.g., Alexander of Neckham's Dispatches, works of morality like Liber de Moribus Hominum Officiis Nobilium Sive Superludo Scacorum, written by Jacobus de Cecilis, and the works related to various chess problems, written largely after 1205. Chess terms, like check, were used by authors as a metaphor for various situations. Chess was soon incorporated into the knightly style of life in Europe. Peter Alfonsi, in his work Disciplina Clericalis, listed chess among the 7 skills that a good knight must acquire. Chess also became a subject of art during this period, with caskets and pendants decorated in various chess forms. Queen Margaret of England's green and red chess sets made of jasper and crystal symbolize chess's position in royal art treasures. Kings Henry I, Henry II, and Richard I of England were chess patrons. Other monarchs who gained similar status were Alfonso X of Castile and Ivan IV of Russia. St. Peter Damian denounced the Bishop of Florence in 1061 for playing chess even when aware of its evil effects on the society. The Bishop of Florence defended himself by declaring that chess involved skill and was therefore unlike other games, and similar arguments followed in the coming centuries. 2 incidents in 13th-century London involving men of Essex resorting to violence resulting in death as an outcome of playing chess further caused sensation and alarm. The growing popularity of the game, now associated with revelry and violence, alarmed the church. The practice of playing chess for money became so widespread during the 13th century that Louis IX of France issued an ordinance against gambling in 1254. This ordinance turned out to be unenforceable and was largely neglected by the common public, and even the courtly society, which continued to enjoy the now prohibited chess tournaments uninterrupted. Shapes of pieces. Under Christianity, the shapes of the pieces, originally Islamic non-representational, changed. Carved images of men and animals reappeared. The shape of the rook, originally a rectangular block with a V-shaped cut in the top, changed. The 2 top parts separated by the split tended to get long and hang over, and in some old pictures looked like horses' heads. The split top of the piece, now called the bishop, was interpreted as a bishop's mitre or a fool's cap. By the mid-12th century, the pieces of the chess set were depicted as kings, queens, bishops, knights and men-at-arms. Chessmen made of ivory began to appear in northwest Europe, and ornate pieces of traditional knight warriors were used as early as the mid-13th century. The initially nondescript pawn had now found association with the paides, pedinus, or the footmen, which symbolize both infantry and loyal domestic service. Names of pieces. The following table provides a glimpse of the changes in names and character of chess pieces as they crossed from India through Persia to Europe. The game, as played during the early Middle Ages, was slow, with many games lasting for days. Some variations in rules began to change the shape of the game by 1300 AD. A notable, but initially unpopular, change was the ability of the pawn to move 2 places in the first move instead of 1. In Europe, some of the pieces gradually got new names. Furs, queen, because it starts beside the king. Aufen, bishop, because its 2 points looked like a bishop's mitre in French fou, and others. Its Latin name, Alfianus, was reinterpreted many ways. Early changes to the rules, attempts to make the start of the game run faster to get the opposing pieces in contact sooner, included pawn moving 2 squares in its first move. This led to the en passant rule. A pawn placed so that it could have captured the enemy pawn if it had moved 1 square forward was allowed to capture it on the pass square. In Italy, the contrary rule applied. A pawn that moved 2 squares forward had passed the danger of attack on the intermediate square. It was sometimes not allowed to do this to cover check. King jumping once, to make it quicker to put the king safe in a corner. Queen on its first move, moving 2 squares straight or diagonally to a same-colored square, with jump the shorter size. Here the pawns started on the 3rd rank, the queens started on d3 and d6 along with the queen's pawns. The players arranged their other pieces as they wished behind the pawns at the start of the game. This idea did not endure. Other sporadic variations in the rules of chess included ignoring check from a piece which was covering check, as some said that in theory, bxe7 would allow rxc8 in reply.